Hey there. Welcome into the Ben Maynard program. Thanks for being here. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping to take care of. As you know, this program is available wherever you stream your podcast. Just search the Ben Maynard program. Boom, it's right there. Just do me a favor, subscribe to whatever streaming platform you're on. Okay, subscribe to the show, and anytime a new episode drops, you'll get notification. All right. But if you're watching and you can't resist a little bit of this right here and a little bit of my guest coming up, then you got to do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, subscribe to YouTube, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. I love your comments. And then also you got to tell 10,000 of your family and friends too. Okay. As you guys know, I'm on this subscriber campaign. I'm trying to hit 500 subscribers before the end of the year. We are not even close. So you're not doing your part, people. Get on the ball, okay? You're not telling. Okay, look, if you can't handle telling 10,000 of your family and friends, because maybe you don't know that many people, how about you tell 1,000 of your family and friends? Is that better? All right. Let's see. Next, follow me on Instagram, all one word, Ben Maynard Program. And then lastly, you can follow me on TikTok. That's the Ben Maynard Program. All right. So with that, plenty of ways to take in this show for your dancing and listening pleasure. And it's been a really, really, it's been a tough week in the music and entertainment business or industry. And so I wanted to bring on my good buddy, Shannon Cox from Talking Rock Fan Podcast. So I'm going to do that right now. And there he is. What's up, Shannon? How are you?
Not bad at all.
Yeah. So I reached out to Shannon. I was like, look, dude, we've had this person, and this person pass. And we're going to get into all that in a minute. I said, how about coming on? Let's do a proper tribute and then let's share some stories and that kind of stuff. And he was like, I'm all in. I'm like, all right. so here we are. So before we get into it, of course, the biggest name in music this week is the passing of Ozzy Osbourne. That was announced on Tuesday. Ozzy passing at 76. And because it's the biggest one, we're going to save that one for the end. And we're going to touch on a couple of the names here. But before we get into Ozzy, I thought that, Shannon and I could touch on some others just because, like I said, I think that they deserve to be recognized anyway. So Shannon, I hope you're ready for that. Well, look, I know for a fact you are just going to be just this. You're going to blow up with the Ozzy and Black Sabbath stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. But let's start with, I think it was yesterday. It was announced that jazz musician, flugel, hornist, trumpeter, composer Chuck Mangione passed away. I think he was 84 years old. Are you familiar with Chuck at all?
Just one song.
Okay.
And why I remember it is from the Doctor Strange movie.
Okay. Okay. All right.
All right. Doctor Strange, before he gets all of his powers and everything, he's doing brain surgery or spinal surgery, I think it is. And one of his techs likes to play Stump, like Stump the Trunk almost.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And they play obscure music for him, and they play Chuck Mangione for him. And of course, Doctor Strange nails it and gives him all these weird facts. It's like the first ever horn soloist #1 hit. And so it just stuck in my head. And so I'd always heard the song in like elevators or in doctor's offices and stuff, but I never put two and two together. And then when I watched the movie, I'm like, oh, now I at least have, some background on the song.
I mean, Chuck came onto my radar when I was probably when I was in my early teens, and just because he had crossed over to top 40 and he had a couple of tunes. I think, I don't remember if the first one was Feel So Good or not, but I remember it just had a really cool groove to it, and I dug what he was doing. And then I think it was around 1980. Well, it had to be 1980. He was commissioned to write a tune for the Olympics, for
Oh,
the 1980 Olympics. And that both of those, both those, I don't remember. I think he had 2 or 3, top 40 hits. And then that was in the early 80s. And then you kind of never really, if you were not into the jazz world, you kind of never really heard from Chuck again. But then apparently he had a resurgence um, on King of the Hill, the animated series. I guess
oh wow.
he had a recurring role on there. So, and I mean, I know the show, I know King of the Hill. I haven't watched a lot of it, so I couldn't even tell you if I've seen an episode featuring Chuck. But I know he was big time. And when I did hear the news yesterday, it was like one of those things. It's like, oh man, because like I said, since my early teens, I hadn't known Chuck Mangione, known who he was. So just one of
Okay.
those, as we get older, these people that we've known or known of, whether it's actors, athletes, musicians, and especially for us being the music nerds that we are, when they start passing, it's like, oh man. And I don't know. I don't really start thinking about my own mortality at that point, but it's just like another one. So anyway, but yeah, look, rest in peace to Chuck. He was certainly a legend in the jazz world. But the next one I wanted to hit on, I think this one actually got announced yesterday too, was George Kooymans, the guitarist and one of the chief songwriters for the Dutch band Golden Earring.
Yes. I loved Radar Love.
Yes. Not a huge band in the United States. As a matter of fact, Golden Earring came onto my radar in 1983 with their second top 40 hit, and that was Twilight Zone.
Okay.
And
I don't know if I know that one.
oh no, you'll know it.
Okay.
You'll know if you hear it, you'll know it. Yeah, you'll be, oh yeah, okay, I know that song. But it was it was a pretty big song. I mean, at the time, compared to their first top 40 hit, Radar Love, which was 10 years earlier, I don't know what chart position that one hit, but Twilight Zone, that was a top 10 hit in the United States. And it was a pretty big song and a really good song too. And I had no idea that Golden Earring had been around for nearly 20 years at that point. These guys were like ancient at that point. But that was a good song. And the one thing it's I don't know, kind of funny is you take their two top 40 hits in the United States, and they're both like epic songs, or like 7-8 minute songs, both of them.
Yeah.
Unless you're listening to top 40 radio, and then they cut it down to like 3 minutes for each one of those songs. But yeah, good stuff from Golden Earring. And unfortunately, I think Georgie was diagnosed like 5 years ago with ALS, and I think that's probably what ended up, um, getting to him, 5 years later, but I think he was like 77 years old. So, not a bad run, but I
Sure.
know as soon as they announced, that he had ALS, the band itself, that's it. All right, we're done. So they called it quits.
Commendable.
They were big time in Europe. They were pretty big time. So anyway, all right. Now, see, we're because I'm the older of the two of us. Not that I could speak in depth on Chuck or Golden Earring, but I could speak a little bit more on them. We're going to kind of get more into Shannon's wheelhouse here. And a little bit for me, but more so for Shannon. And yesterday, sad news if you are a wrestling fan. pro wrestling fan at all. And that was Hulk Hogan passing away at 71 years old. So young.
Yeah.
So young.
Well, I think all the guys that passed away were in their 70s. So it's like a little club they put together.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I guess so, right?
Yeah.
But what do you, I mean, we talked earlier and you are, you were a wrestling fan. You said you kind of stepped away a little bit, but you've kind of gotten back into it recently. And what are your, like, when did Hulk Hogan come on your radar, and what are your remembrances of him?
Well, I did not see the first WrestleMania too much later. So, I mean, Rocky 3 with Thunder Lips was my introduction into him.
That was so good. That was so good.
Meatball! When he yells at Rocky.
Meatball, I'm
Yeah.
gonna break you in half. I'm gonna break you in two.
All the showgirls, the big feather in the hat. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just great.
Was he wearing a big old feather boa too?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just beautiful. And that I've actually read books on Hulk Hogan from that time period.
Yeah.
And he had been fired by the WWF at that point.
Really?
Because he wanted to go do Rocky 3.
Oh,
And so he went and did Rocky 3, and they saw the reaction. And the owner saw dollar signs and brought him back, and then made him world champion because of it.
Vince McMahon.
Yeah, Vincent K. Yeah. Neck. Yeah, he. I mean, Hogan in the rock music world was actually well known in the 80s because of the Rock and Roll Connection. He had a cartoon called the Rock and Roll Connection, I believe, with Cyndi Lauper, and they would have guests in there. Mr. T was always on it.
Yeah.
And then when in the wrestling, even, they brought out, I mean, Ozzy Osbourne was in WrestleMania 2.
What's Alice really?
Cooper. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Ozzy's in WrestleMania 2 as a special guest. They always brought out guests. The first WrestleMania, I think, was Cyndi Lauper and Liberace, I believe.
I think first WrestleMania was like 1984, I believe.
Yeah.
I think that was the one at the Pontiac Silverdome.
No, that was 3.
Oh, really? That was 3. Okay.
The first one was Madison Square Garden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the second one was in 3 spots, simulcast, 3 different venues at once. And they never did that again because it was so hard.
I think I remember hearing Hulk talk about that. Something like that. Yeah. And they were all pay-per-view, weren't they?
The first one was not a pay-per-view because it wasn't really a thing.
Right.
It was, they would sell out viewing places that had special license to carry it. Not theaters, but like halls and stuff. And they would sell out places with big screens.
Yeah.
And people would have to gather. And then Vincent McMahon, jumped on it. And when he saw other wrestling promoters doing pay-per-view, he did it better. We could do a special on WrestleMania guest stars anyway, because WrestleMania 3, Alice Cooper was in it.
Well, there's always seemed to be a pretty big rock connection with professional wrestling or the WWF or the WWE as it's known now, or even WCW, which that was a thing for a while and got swallowed up by the WWE.
Hogan was a big part of WCW's rise and fall.
When I mean, look, my opinion, and I can speak a little bit on Hulk Hogan just because I was around and he first came on my radar in Rocky 3, and I'm a teenager. I'm a junior in high school, I was going into my senior year in high school, and I went to go see Rocky 3, and I'm seeing this guy that's like 6'7" and weighs about 300.
Towering over Rocky.
Oh, it was. Look, I know he was tall and he was big, but he had to be standing on like an apple crate just to give that effect that he was even so much bigger. Because
the thing is, Sylvester Stallone's actually short.
Well, he's not very tall. I think he's about 5'10", maybe.
Yeah,
and that's maybe if he stands on his tiptoes. I don't know. But that was just such an image, and then just to see that scene, and it was so great. And I think to what you're saying, really, that's probably, Vince was like, oh, we got to get this guy back. And look, if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, WWF would not be what it is. He was, I mean, he's not only just so synonymous with professional wrestling, with WWF, with WWE, with whatever, professional wrestling, period. He was really kind of like, I mean, there was professional wrestling way before then. Andre the Giant was like one of the only guys I even knew of before WWF happened, because, you know, everybody had their own regional wrestling in different cities and towns and all that kind of stuff. But I watched it a little bit on local television when I was much smaller. But then Hulk Hogan, you know, comes on the scene, and just things explode. And from pay-per-views and from being on television, you know, whatever, like once a month or something like that, they had some big wrestling thing going to toys and just everything else. It was just bananas. And I just honestly just think it, okay, yes, could Vince McMahon do a great marketing job? Sure. But you know what? If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan,
you had to have somebody to sell.
And not only that, but Hulk Hogan could sell himself too, you know. So
he had TV shows, he had movies, like you said, dolls, video games. He was on 2 rock albums. They were wrestling albums. You had WrestleMania, the album, or no, there's the wrestling album. Then you had Pile Driver, the wrestling album too.
Okay.
And he was on both of those, and his face is front and center on those albums. So when I went and bought those, that's what I looked for. You saw Hogan, you knew.
That's it.
Give me that. Yeah.
Well, he was such just an enormous figure, and not just in stature, but just an enormous figure in his personality and just in the way that he did market himself, but also he transcended wrestling. You know, he transcend. I mean, like you said, he did television shows, he did movies, he was on a couple of albums. Just, you know, he had his own reality show at one point too.
True.
You know,
Hogan Knows Best. I forgot about that.
Right.
Never watched any of it.
I think I watched a few episodes, because there was a lot of cool music related stuff on VH1 or VH1 Classic,
and
whatever.
That was with his first wife, I believe.
I think you're right on that one.
Because his second wife, Sky, I think her name is quite a bit younger than him.
Yeah.
So she may not have been alive when he was wrestling at first.
But just to you know, and you know, never had, I shouldn't say never, but early on did not have a very good relationship with his father.
Oh.
And his father completely disapproved of what he was doing when it came to wrestling, because he went to college at Florida or Florida State or somewhere in Florida. I can't remember exactly which university it was. And he was majoring in like accounting. Okay. Can you imagine a guy like 6'7", 6'8", 300 pounds, you know, sitting behind a desk wanting to do your taxes or something like that? I mean, come on, really?
Yeah.
Take that guy seriously. but he knew he wanted something different, and he went into wrestling. His father didn't approve of it. And I think it was when he won the title, he wrestled the Iron Sheik. I think that was 1984.
Yeah.
And it might've been the first time he won the title, because he was like, I don't know, like 6-time.
Yeah.
You know,
it was the Sheik was the first person that he beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is the Iron Sheik was like really, he was like a security guy for the Shah of Iran back in the 70s. So he was like a real dude, you know.
He was a former Olympic wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has like medals and everything.
So when Hulk when he was, you know, in preparation for that match, he had his parents attend. He got him tickets, whatever, and had him there. watching the match. And it wasn't until after the match and he won that his dad had come up to him and said, you know what, I kind of understand what it is you're doing now, and I get it, and I'm really proud of you. And it was, it was at that point, but up to then it was kind of a rocky relationship with his father. So, but
I mean, he had some stuff in the news too. Back in the 90s, he helped expose the business from the we've got to believe, we got to believe everything is real. He brought that forefront and let people know, well, it is real, but we have a script,
right.
predetermined a little bit. And then the steroid trials, he went through that.
Yeah.
He was the key witness against the WWF and Vincent K. McMahon. But then, because I've watched documentaries on this where he actually changed his mind on the stand and went against the prosecution. And
Yeah.
that's how he supposedly got back in the good graces of WWFE, whatever you want to call it. But yeah.
Yeah. Just, I mean, figuratively and literally just a larger than life figure. And it's kind of a shame. Another one of those people has been around almost all my life, and so just
Icon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just another guy, just, gone too soon. And, but, he died as a Christian man. And so good for him.
One thing on Hogan before I forget.
Yeah.
Rick Derringer did 2 of his ring entrances, wrote them.
I think I heard something about that.
He,
But I
he
think
used
I
to
heard
be really big in wrestling, writing music for wrestlers back in the 80s.
I think I heard something about that around the time Rick Derringer passed.
Yeah,
I
probably.
think that came to
And
light.
that was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
a few
yeah.
months ago. Was that June?
It was
May or
a
June?
I don't know, month, 6 weeks
Yeah.
ago, something like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Another,
Oh, yeah.
another really, if you think about it, another legend in music who really had one hit song, but
Mhm.
wrote and played for just oodles of people.
Oh, if you play Hulk Hogan's Real American, which was what he came to the ring with during his whole first run as champion,
Yeah.
anybody from the era that watched him would know it. They wouldn't necessarily know Rick Derringer wrote, sang it, did the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, it was, and then when he went to WCW, Rick Derringer was brought in to write his new patriotic song, because at the time, we just came out of Desert Storm and was looking at
Right.
other stuff on the horizons, and they were trying to think, should we let Hogan revisit the evil foreigner angles and stuff? And they end up not doing that, but they kept the music, and he kept that until he changed his music to Voodoo Child by Hendrix.
Okay.
In the mid
Now,
90s.
when Hulk, and we'll wrap this up because
Yep.
we'll get because I know you're just going to go on for days.
I'm a wrestling nerd too. I
well,
apologize.
well, no, I don't. I mean, you're going to go on for days when we get to
Oh, yeah.
our next celebrity. But uh when Hulk went to WCW, he couldn't take Hulk with him. That's when he became Hollywood Hogan, right?
No, he took Hulk Hogan
Did
to
he?
WCW. Yep.
Why did he change to Hollywood Hogan? And he colored his hair, he colored his mustache black or his beard black, whatever, something like that.
I don't know how much terminology you know about wrestling.
And
but there's 2 terms, or 3. 2. Yeah. I can't count. 1 and 1 plus equals 3, Living Color. Who also performed at WrestleMania this year, by the way. Living Color did.
Oh, I heard something about that. Yeah.
But anyway, Hogan was, when he first became a wrestler, was what was known as a heel, which are bad guys.
Yeah.
When he became champion, a few months before, he became what's called a baby face, a good guy.
Okay.
That was wrestling terminology. When you switch from one to the other, you have to change a lot of things. You change your music, you change your appearance. When Hogan was originally known as Terry Boulder before he was Hulk Hogan,
Right.
his chest hair was cut in a mushroom cloud. Very hokey, very terrible. He was embarrassed of the pictures, but it was a mushroom cloud of chest hair. And so when he came to the back to WWF, they're like, "No, we need you clean shaven. We need you bright." So they wanted to make sure his hair was nice and blonde, and the do rag to cover up, the unsightly baldness, because goodness knows you got to portray,
Yeah.
healthy individual. And he started the prayers, vitamins, regiments, and talking about it. When he became Hollywood Hogan, he wanted to be anti-fan. He wanted to be anti-establishment. He broke all the rules, which was
Okay.
a 180 from American Hulk Hogan, who was never broke a rule unless it was absolutely, justified. And it was just his way. I mean, he painted his mustache with black stuff, and
Yeah.
he spray painted his championship belt, which was sacrilege because those things at the time cost $12,000.
Holy cow.
And he spray painted one like live on the air. And the books I've read are like the people in the back going, "Oh my God." Well, we got to let him keep it for a while now, or at least people in his stable keep it because it's got NWO on it.
Yeah.
So that's why he changed.
Okay. Right on. All right. You ready to move on?
With a deep breath and a sigh. Yes.
Yeah, and probably a lot of sadness too. And this one came through on Tuesday morning. Um, it was announced that at the age of 76, Ozzy Osbourne passed away, and I remember. Well, it was only Tuesday, so of course I remember where I was. But it was. I was listening to Sirius XM. It was probably 20 minutes before Eddie's show was gonna start. So I'm like, oh, no way, Ozzy passed away. And I thought, okay, well, Eddie's coming on 20 minutes. And obviously the whole show is gonna be nothing but Ozzy. And then when the show starts, come to find out that Eddie's out of town, or he's making his way west to Las Vegas. And so
You would have thought they'd preempted and had his producer come in and go, "Breaking news." Da, 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 da. Do the Walter
exactly.
Winchell Cronkite's. Oh, breaking news. Now back to our regular,
Yeah,
special.
exactly. So we had to wait a day to get Eddie's perspective on it. But um, it was just one of those things. I'll give my kind of perspective because you're going to have so much more to talk about on this than I am, and that's why I wanted to do this with you too. So I just thought to myself, okay, at least Ozzy got to perform one last time with the original lineup of Black Sabbath. He actually, I mean, back in 92, he was retiring. It was No More Tours. That was the tour, the No More Tours tour. And it just and I think that evolved into Ozzfest instead
Yeah.
of the tours, so to speak. So but it was just and just like with so many other artists and bands that we like, that say goodbye, they kind of say goodbye for a little bit and they're right back in it. But but you know, for I guess it was for probably the last 5 or 6 years, he had this tour scheduled or planned with Judas Priest opening, and it kept getting postponed because Ozzy had surgery here, he had this there, a lot of health issues the last 5, 6 years, and Ozzy's had health issues in the past, probably past 20 years, but nothing that kept him from the stage, nothing that kept him from performing. But this definitely was keeping him down. And then, of course, was it a couple years ago? It was announced that he was suffering from Parkinson's disease, and so uh but he kept saying, "Oh, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna be back." And then it just never happened. And you really kind of saw the writing on the wall. But then early this year, it was probably January, February, when they made the announcement, back to the beginning, one time only. It's going to be in Birmingham, England, rightfully so, with the original members of Black Sabbath. And it was supposed to be really a tribute to the original lineup of Black Sabbath. And it kind of ended up being a farewell to Ozzy, really. But from Ozzy's perspective, I kept hearing that he was like, I got to play with Bill Ward one last time. We're doing this for Bill. And so I thought that was really nice on Ozzy's part too. And he finally got to do it. He got to go out the way he wanted to, performing one final time for his fans, for all the other artists that were there, paying tribute to not only him, but to Black Sabbath. And he got to perform with his guys one last time. And I think that was you couldn't go out any other way.
Sure. I was really worried that he was even going to be able to do it. Cause you hear the rumor mill. Yeah. They were spouting Ozzy's canceling again because was it Desert Trip? Whatever it was. In 2023, Judas Priest took his spot.
Yep.
Because 4 months before, he had to cancel just for those reasons. And everybody's like, oh man, it's happening again.
Yep.
Ozzy once played with glass in his eye. He once performed with broken ribs on stage. For this to keep him away from the stage, oh my goodness gracious, this is the end. Yeah. And, little did we know when it was going to come so soon after his last performance.
Yeah. And at the time that we're recording this episode too, I don't think it's still been revealed what the actual cause of death was. So
no, him or Hogan. I think Hogan was just cardiac arrest. Ozzy, I think they're just, so far, it's just a rapid Parkinson's, because it can hit you rapidly and deteriorate you fairly quickly.
And that's possible. But when did because you're a huge Black Sabbath fan and you are a huge Ozzy solo fan. Yes. And and obviously we're a little bit different in age. There's about 10 years difference between the two of us. But when did Black Sabbath come on your radar?
Well, Ozzy came on my radar first.
Okay.
As a solo artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
My brother, who introduced me to hard rock and heavy metal, brought home Bark at the Moon.
Oh, wow. So not even Blizzard of Oz.
No, okay. It was not the first three. Well, two albums. Yeah. Then there was live albums after that. Speak after that, I think.
Speak of the Devil was the one after Diary.
The one with Brad Gillis, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bark at the Moon. And I was like, wow, I was 8, 9 when that came out, and he brought it home. There was like 8 years difference between me and my brother. Yeah. He's a little bit older. And he was listening to it all the time when my parents weren't around, and I would howl
when they were around.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have headphones. We had just the old credenza that you flipped up and put records on, or you pushed an 8-track in.
Yep.
And we had a little tape deck, and he brought home the tape.
Okay.
And we wore it out. Loved Bark at the Moon. That was my introduction. I mean, I didn't know who Randy Rhoads was until way after that.
Wow.
And what's really crazy, Black Sabbath, I didn't realize Ozzy was in Black Sabbath at first when I first heard him, because the first artist I heard with them was Tony Martin.
Oh, wow.
And I went back.
Yeah.
And found Dio. Then I found Ozzy.
Yeah. It's like, well, but the timeline is everything. Everybody comes in at a different point in a band's chronology, and so, I mean, you're coming in on Ozzy's third studio album. You're coming in on Black Sabbath with Tony Martin, which was like after Ian Gillan, after Glenn Hughes, and certainly after Dio.
To bring it back a little bit.
Yeah.
The first time I heard a Black Sabbath song was in wrestling.
Oh, jeez.
Going to bring it back
Okay.
around to our previous conversation.
Right.
Iron Man was the ring entrance for the Road Warriors.
Okay.
And it was funny. They would play, "Brrr," and I am. By the time they got Ozzy had Iron Man out over the loudspeakers, the Road Warriors were in the ring and had their opponents dead, being pinned. The song didn't even get to finish its intro, and it was just hilarious. And that for the longest time, I was like, "That's really a weird way," but it sounded so dark and sinister. And
Yeah.
it wasn't till years later I'm like, "Oh, that was Ozzy and Black Sabbath," and I started going, like I said, going back. And I still haven't listened to the Ian Gillan. Was that Forbidden? I'm trying to remember which
Born
album it
Again.
was. Born
Born,
Again,
Born
the one
Again.
with the little devil baby on the cover. Yes,
Yes.
yes, yeah. Forbidden, I've not heard either, but yeah. So yeah, that was my intro. Was Bark at the Moon.
Okay.
I remember my brother being shattered because my parents wouldn't let him go.
Oh, to see him on the tour?
Yeah, he was playing Knoxville, Tennessee, about an hour and a half away from us at Thompson Bowling. And I don't remember who was opening for him then.
I think on that tour, and it's only because it's just what I keep
Metallica,
hearing.
maybe?
No, I think on the Bark of the Moon tour, I think it was Motley Crue.
Motley Crue. Okay.
I think the Crew was opening up that tour.
Okay. I knew they did one of the early ones, and then
Yeah.
Metallica did one of the early ones as well, which blew me away that Motley, even Nikki Sixx not showing up at the Back to the Beginning kind of threw me for a loop. But, like many people have said, you can't invite everybody.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You just
People
can't.
are throwing stones trying to figure out who was thrown off the tour. I don't care. Yeah. Your Rolodex only goes so far, dating us. You can go down
and not only
name.
that, it was look, it was 8 hours already. That's an endurance test in itself. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if there's a revolving stage or not. You can still only get so many people on there. So
right. And I have yet to see all of it. I've seen a few YouTube clips here and there.
I haven't seen any of it. I've been interested in it, but I haven't seen any of it.
There's definitely a couple of standout performances. The Young Blood that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, I keep hearing about that one.
I actually knew him a little bit before this. It was kind of shocking that he showed up because that is not his scene at all.
Really?
He is not rock at all.
Wow.
He does like an emo kind of dark music.
Okay. Yeah.
And not that I was a fan of it, but we watched a TV show, 13 Reasons Why, and it had multiple seasons of it. And he was on the soundtracks for some of that.
Okay.
Very dark show. And it almost like they put his music where it was depressing in the show. But if you hear him sing Changes, it's great. It's great. And everybody on stage did a great job. And they actually leave him at the end of the song to sing out with the crowd, the ending of it. He did so well. Then another standout. I haven't watched the Steven Tyler stuff, even though I've heard that's great. I was a little bit disappointed that Tyler didn't do any Ozzy or Sabbath. I mean, they could have fit something in there for Steven.
Right.
I understand the contrast of styles and that he's an icon.
Yeah.
But if you're there to pay tribute, why not?
Right. I mean, even an icon like Sammy Hagar still performed. I don't even remember what it was he performed, but he performed, I think, something of his, and he performed was it Black Sabbath song, or was it I don't even remember if it was an Ozzy song.
I have not watched it, but I've read that he botched the lyrics is all.
Yes, I did hear. Oh, it was shoot.
Wasn't Flying High again, was it? No.
Crap. But yeah, I did hear that he kind of messed up the lyrics. Yeah.
Live music. And the beauty of it.
Yeah, better than being on tape, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was, that's right. I think it was an Ozzy song. Yeah. Anyway, I just haven't seen any of the clips, but
I want to see the professionally shot version of it. So if it ever comes out as a box set or some kind of stream that you could get, I would probably get it just for prosperity, because I have several of their DVDs. I
Okay.
have the Dio's Radio City Music Hall
Oh,
concert
wow. That was
on DVD.
the Heaven and Hell era, right? I
Yes,
mean, not the
yes,
album itself, but the
right.
band. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
That Eddie Trunk actually hosted. So yeah, I've got that on DVD. I've got The End, which was supposed to be the last Black Sabbath concert.
Exactly.
Then I've got Gathering in Their Masses, which was the tour of that time for their album 13.
Okay.
So yeah, I've got several of those, and
Yeah.
as hard as it was to see Ozzy in his throne, it was a throne, but their fan videos, which is I'm starting to jump on board the whole "don't take your cell phone" thing, because all
Yeah.
that shot footage is ruining some of the mystique for me,
Oh, really?
and the sound quality is atrocious.
Yeah, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
poor. Yeah, there's several videos where they show where they bring Ozzy out and they dress up his chair as the throne. So I'm like, oh man, I wish I hadn't seen that part, you know. And the poor guy went off his medications just to show his dedication, how tough he was.
Yeah. That's what
He
I
went off
heard.
his medications to do
Yeah.
this so he wouldn't be subdued.
S
And during his performance, you see his flinches and little spasms or jerks or whatever. And the man poured his heart out. Even if he was playing to a tape, I doubt, because I didn't
I
see any of the videos where you could see him lip syncing, but he did keep the microphone close to his mouth.
from everything I've heard, and I do believe it because there's I don't know, there's a guy that does a lot of vocal comparisons and that kind of stuff, and I guess he's really good at this stuff. He's like an engineer or whatever, but but from everything I've heard, that he was actually singing live. It didn't, I mean, not that it sounded bad, but where, and I'm not being a musician, I couldn't give you notes and
Oh
scales and
yeah,
all that kind of stuff. But instead of being at this pitch here, he was like, down tune a little bit, and maybe he was off a little bit on a couple notes here and there. Which, look, forget about the Parkinson's. The guy's 76 years old anyway. So trying to sing at 76 like you did when you were 46
mm-hmm.
or 36, is just going to be completely different.
And had
And
not performed in years.
that's true. That's true. Because we know that, I think it was last year, he did something with Tony Iommi in England. It was just the two of them. It's a soccer game or something like that. And that was completely like tape.
Okay.
But yeah, from everything that I've heard, that it was completely live. And then what they did is they kind of, if you bought the pay-per-view, it was a 2-hour delay,
Yes.
and which actually gave sound guys or whatever, it gave them a couple hours to sweeten it up a little bit, but not a lot. There wasn't a lot that they had to tweak. So good on Ozzy for that, because if you're a huge fan like you or anybody else out there like you, then over the last 20 years, 25 years, Ozzy has struggled mightily live. He's had good nights and bad nights, and there's been a lot of stuff going on. So look, for everything that he's been through, or he was going through and had been through, to sing, what was it? I think it was a total of 9
9
songs.
songs, yeah.
Total 9 songs between the Ozzy set and the Black Sabbath set. Thumbs up to Ozzy.
Oh,
Thumbs
yeah.
up to Ozzy. That's all I can say.
And Tony Iommi said they wanted to play 7 to 8 songs they had picked out, and because of curfew, they dialed it back, or
That's
he would
right.
have
He said,
attempted more.
I think he said they cut 2 songs.
Yeah, Fairies
So it
Wear
would have,
Boots, and I can't remember the other song.
yeah, it was Gypsies. Yeah. And
Can't
was it
remember.
The Wizard?
Oh, I couldn't imagine Ozzy even attempting The Wizard.
No,
Oh,
yeah,
my
that's
goodness.
true. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. It was, he did
Maybe
say,
Black Sabbath. It may have
it
been the song
might have
Black
been.
Sabbath.
It might have been. Yeah. But I do remember him saying Gypsies Wear Boots. Yeah. So,
Fairies Wear Boots.
or I mean, fairies. Yeah.
You're
Fairies.
fine.
Sorry. But yeah, for the non-Black Sabbath fan, so to speak, whatever.
Sorry, people were going, I
People
gotta
are
look
gonna
this song
go,
up. I
yeah.
missed the song.
What's the matter with you, Maynard?
Yeah.
But so yeah, no, all I can say is good on Ozzy. He did a fabulous job. What? So you started with Bark at the Moon. When did you go back, and how far did you go? Did you go back to Blizzard of Oz, or did you only go back, one album to either Speak of the Devil, or Diary of a Madman?
Well, at my age at the time, I was kind of at the whim of my brother's musical taste
Okay.
and whatever he brought home.
Yeah.
And of course, he was strapped by his budget of being a teenager at the time.
Weren't we
And
all?
yeah. And then
Yeah.
there was my parents. We had to, sneak around them because they were, they had both kinds of music in the house, country and western.
Yeah.
And you didn't have hard rock. God bless, heavy metal. But I did, when I started high school, go back to Blizzard and Diary because somebody heard that I had just heard Bark
Okay.
forward.
Okay.
Because when I was in high school, No More Tears had been out or came out after. Well, that was when I was in mid high school. No Rest for the Wicked came out, and I love that album.
That's like 90s, isn't it? That's like,
It's late. No
is it?
Rest, I believe, was
Right.
late 80s. No More Tears was early 90s.
Bark of the Moon, Ultimate Sin.
Mhm.
Then, was
And
it
somehow I
no?
skipped Ultimate Sin until way later. I went way back.
Okay.
I
Then
didn't
I
even
think
realize
then
it
I think it
existed.
was No Rest for the Wicked, right? Was after that, and then was it Osmosis after that? Something like that.
No Rest for the Wicked, then No More Tears.
Oh, No More
Osmosis
Tears.
was his comeback album because
Okay.
it had Perry Mason on it, which was a big hit for him at the
Which
time.
is that's a dynamite song.
Yeah,
That's a
I've got
dynamite song.
most of his solo stuff except for his last like 2 or 3 albums. That's the only
Didn't
ones I have.
didn't didn't Zakk write that one? He wrote Perry Mason.
I would have to look at the liner notes, but probably because Zakk was really taking the reins at certain points.
Yeah.
Zakk was, I mean, if you hear Zack's interviews on Ozzy, Ozzy was like a second father to him.
Exactly.
I
And
mean, they had that relationship.
he called Ozzy he didn't call him dad. I think he called him Father Oz or something like that, and called it Sharon Moms.
Yes, yes, he did.
Yeah, no, he was
Oh yeah,
very, very close with
oh
the
yeah,
Osbournes, very, very close with them, and very grateful to everything that they had given him. I mean, they gave him his shot.
yeah. They took him out of the clubs, playing to 13 people. I think he said in Jersey
Yeah,
to stadiums.
yeah.
I mean, you can't ask for more than that.
When he
And
was Jeff Wyland.
yes, Jeff
Yeah,
Wylde. Yeah, when
yeah,
he was long, blonde, flowing hair, much in that
yeah.
scene. Uh, and then, of course, beefed up into this manhunter looking.
Oh my god! I know. I mean, if he shaved his beard, he might look pretty. He might look like Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
He's
Oh, yeah.
so
He could look
big.
like he could have went to the ring at some point.
Exactly. I
Absolutely.
mean, he's
And that's one thing I do want to talk about with Ozzy.
yeah.
His and Sharon's knack for finding talent, beautiful musicians over
I,
the years.
yeah.
Not, I mean, some people get lucky to find one.
You're right.
Ozzy found probably a dozen.
Well, let me see. Well, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, and I don't know if the listeners and the viewers at home are aware of this, but Dana Strum from Slaughter
Slaughter. Yeah,
is the one who introduced Randy Rhoads to Ozzy Osbourne.
I heard that interview when he was on the one of the cruises. Yeah, he talked about it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And but I mean, so he brought Randy to Ozzy, and then after Randy had died, then of course comes Brad Gillis. It was actually it was
There
Bernie
was a guy
Torme.
before. Yes.
Bernie Torme filled in for a few shows, and then they got Brad Gillis. That was like 2 weeks, and then
Mhm.
Brad Gillis came aboard and filled that gap until Jakey Lee came
Mhm.
into. But I mean, come on, you've got Randy Rhoads. If you want to count Brad Gillis, we can count
Oh,
Brad
yeah.
Gillis.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, well,
Yeah.
without Brad Gillis, there's no Night Ranger.
Oh, I mean, come on. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. And
Right.
then you got Jakey Lee. Then you've got Zakk
Mhm.
Wylde. Then you got Joe Holmes.
Go home.
So just phenomenal guitar player after phenomenal guitar player after phenomenal guitar player.
And that's 5 guitarists.
Yeah.
Bassist. Well, think of this. Tony Iommi. You have to add a 6th one in there.
That's true. He did kind of come
Well,
back and do his.
if you read Tony and Geezer's autobiographies,
Yeah.
their band Earth was dying. They couldn't keep a singer. They were drawing nobody. And one of the guys just found Ozzy out on the street kind of smoking a cigarette. And he's like, yeah, man, for a pint, I'll come in and sing and whatever. And he just got up there and just ad-lib some stuff. And they're like, we got to get this guy some lyrics,
Yeah.
and see where it's
Yeah.
going to go from there. And it kind of took off. But bassist, Geezer Butler, Bob Daisley,
Yep.
Sarzo,
Rudy Sarzo. Yeah.
uh, um,
Dang it.
Trujillo, Robert Trujillo.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of, Robert
He
Trujillo.
pulled
Yeah.
him out of the ashes of suicidal tendencies because that's where Trujillo started.
Right.
And Mike Inez.
Yes.
Mike Inez.
And then the drummers.
Alice.
Right. From Alice in Chains. And then the drummers too.
Castillo, Aldrich,
Tommy
Ward.
Aldridge, Randy Castillo.
Yeah.
Dean Castronovo from Journey. I don't know if he recorded anything with Ozzy, but he toured with Ozzy.
Bill Ward.
And of course, honestly, look, the guy who started it all, Lee Kerslake.
Mm-hmm.
And Lee Kerslake was an absolute phenomenal drummer from one of my all-time favorite bands, Uriah Heep. And it was so funny that, and we won't make this Uriah Heep, so I'll just say this, we're going to get right back to Ozzy. But, Lee was in Uriah Heep until 1979, 1980, and he left due to management and joins up with Ozzy. Him and Daisley come in pretty much at the same time. And where Daisley wrote a lot of the lyrics, Lee also did a lot of co-writing, but not so much on the lyric side. I mean, we all know Daisley wrote everything. But when both Bob Daisley and Lee Kerslake were unceremoniously dismissed from the band, what did they do? They went back to Uriah Heep. Well, Daisley wasn't going back, but Kerslake brought Daisley to Uriah Heep when they recorded their album in '82, Abominog. So it was kind of funny that they were the rhythm section for Uriah Heep after that. But
Daisley continued to write off and on for a little while longer for Ozzy as well.
Then he came back to the band because I think he was back for Ultimate Sin and on. I think he was on for a couple.
Geezer was on for No Rest or for No More Tears. I can't remember which one. Geezer actually came into the Ozzy band for a short time.
Yes,
and did those albums.
Yeah.
And then of course Ozzy came back to Sabbath early 90s.
Okay.
And made the head scratching deal. I give credit to Sharon for Black Sabbath could only perform under that name with Ozzy.
Yeah.
Which is what led to Heaven and Hell with Dio later.
That's right. Yeah.
I still consider all the old Dio records Heaven and Hell now.
Okay.
But that's how I keep them apart. I do the same thing with Van Halen. I always consider the Roth era a different band than Hagar. Yeah. And Sharon, I just don't give him a fair enough shake, even though I love Extreme.
Yeah.
I need to break down and listen to Van Halen 3 again someday. But back to Ozzy. I mean, they got that great deal. They did Ozzfest, like you brought up earlier, which was a killer endeavor. I mean, that brought, talk about new music. That brought so many fans, so many bands together, introduced them to. I mean, I was just looking at I have 2 years of Ozzfest on CD.
Okay.
And the name of the bands that came out of that, like Slipknot, that's where they got their first real exposure. Machine Head. There's a lot of harder things. They even brought back a returning Iron Maiden. They had just reunited.
They did one Ozzfest, didn't they?
Yeah, the Iron Maiden got fired from it.
Yeah, that's what I thought I remembered hearing. Now, did obviously White Zombie was around from the late 80s, but did Rob Zombie kind of was he kind of brought to more prominence and a wider audience through Ozzfest?
No, he was around well before Ozzfest.
Okay.
MTV brought him around.
Okay. I just wasn't sure on that. I know he did at least one, maybe two Ozzfests. So
yeah.
I just wasn't sure. But
well, like a lot of people say, he's the king of the festival. He honestly is.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at, was it Boardwalk Rock? They gave him just days to replace Alice in Chains and Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Stepped right in it and hadn't even been doing anything for the longest time. Another guy that's great at finding talent. But yeah, Zombie had been around for an album. Then they came out with La Sexorcisto, Devil Music Volume 1, and hit big on MTV.
Well, I know there was 90s. I know there was some tension between Rob and Ozzy and Sharon for a while because they kept stealing his his musicians. He said something to the effect that he was tired of being the farm team for Ozzy's band.
Exactly. And what's hilarious is Rob has no room to speak because when Marilyn Manson toured with White Zombie, he stole John 5 from Marilyn Manson. And I want to say even Piggy D came over.
Okay. All right. And we're going to get back on. We're going to get back on Ozzy.
But I'm a train wreck when it comes to White Zombie. I am a zombie fanatic.
That's
solo.
Okay,
that's another episode.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I think John 5 might have been on his way out anyway, because him and Marilyn were fighting on stage.
Oh,
come on.
Yeah. So, well, Marilyn was so blitzed he couldn't remember the fights afterwards. Was what John said.
It might not have taken much to get John to get over to Rob's side of the side anyway. So, but
he wasn't the only person he took. He took, I want to say, Piggy D later on and somebody else.
Okay.
But yeah, Rob doesn't have a whole lot of room to speak. I mean, he so maybe Blasto might have came.
Kind of like the pot calling the kettle black, I guess.
Oh yeah, but Ozzy, I mean, him and Sharon were geniuses.
Yeah.
At talent, either getting somebody to find it or finding it.
Yeah, he always just had tremendous musicians around him. Surrounded by talent, and not to say that it was just the talent around him that made Ozzy what he was. Because the thing is he takes a lot of hits, or had taken a lot of hits throughout his career on his voice. But when you go back to the Black Sabbath stuff, and then you go back to and I'm not honestly, look, I'm not familiar with probably more than half of Ozzy's catalog. Okay, I'm in all transparency, people. I could probably name you about 10, maybe if I pushed it, 12 Ozzy solo songs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I know enough to at least kind of speak half intelligently on this and have a good conversation with Shannon, because he'll fill in all the blanks. but what Ozzy did, especially on those early records, and just his voice fit what was being written, and even though he wasn't a lyricist, it's always been said that he could come up with a good melody. So he could take the lyrics and he could twist them into a really good melody, and boom, there you go. And what he did was phenomenal. It really, really was.
When I read Geezer Butler's autobiography last year, he would say pretty much that same thing. Ozzy would be humming a tune or coming up with a melody.
Right.
Tony was the musician. He
Yeah.
played all the instruments and he would make the song. Geezer did the lyrics. And so they had a good triangle there, to come up with music. And it was magical for at least the first 4 to 5 albums before, the drugs and the excess.
Before they really went off the rails.
The excess really went off the rails. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the stories are just mind blowing, but I mean, and even I watched Motley Crue's movie, The Dirt.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen it? You
I saw
it? Where they meet Ozzy on the poolside and he's snorting ants because he can't find, nobody has any cocaine.
Well, it's funny. I heard that story told by, I don't remember who it was in the band years ago, And then I bought the book when it had come out, and each guy's got his own story of the band, and you read about Ozzy snorting ants poolside as well, and I believe it was on that Bark of the Moon tour. And then of course, here comes the movie, probably, gosh, that probably was 5-6 years after the book was written.
Oh yeah.
And boom, there it is, front and center. So there's got to be something to it, because Ozzy was known for doing a lot of crazy things.
Ozzy admitted to it.
Yeah.
He was on we found the YouTube clip last night. We've been just looking at some nostalgia stuff because of Ozzy had passed in our family. We've been listening to a lot of everything that Ozzy sang.
Yeah.
Then we look for clips. One of them is him on a game show. Jimmy Kimmel is hosting a young man show. Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah. Okay.
Is hosting it. And it's Ozzy versus a fan. You can find it on YouTube. And they're asking questions about Ozzy's life to see who knows more.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious because the fan was like trying to beat Ozzy to the buzzer on like questions like, what's your middle name? And stuff like that. It was hilarious. And one of the questions that Ozzy got right was, what animal did Ozzy supposedly snort back in the 80s? And he wrote,
geez.
He goes, I did them. I did ants. I did it. I admit it. Finally, I did it.
Yeah.
It was just hilarious.
Yeah. But, there was a morning show here on the local rock station for 25 years, Mark and Brian, and they had Ozzy on a few times during the time when Ozzy lived in LA. And he was always no, it was actually before. It was before the reality show. This was, I never watched
the show either.
This was like early, I never saw it either, but this was like early to mid 90s when they had him on. Because I remember one time they had him on promoting the Osmosis record. So
that was his Family Man period. They called
that was like that was like
Kelly.
93, something like that, 93, 94, somewhere around there. Yes. And then they had him
pictures of him holding little Jack on stage during his last performance for the No More Tears. Yeah. They were very young.
So they had him on a couple of times, and he was always a kick in the pants because, and everybody knows when Ozzy spoke, he would stutter a lot and that kind of stuff. But I remember when I think it might've been the first time he came in the studio, and you could hear on the microphone him walking in the studio, getting ready to sit down on the microphone and put the headphones on, all the jewelry that he's wearing, and it's just making all kinds of noise. And they were talking about the cologne that he was wearing and how strong it was. And, he was very interesting. It was interesting to hear him in an interview be so different than everybody's perception of him based on, the persona that he created performing on stage, his years in Black Sabbath, his years obviously as a solo artist, and he's, dubbed the Prince of Darkness and all this kind of stuff. And just to hear him in an interview, totally totally different.
Oh yeah.
And it really made him much more human and much more of like just like a regular guy. And I do remember in one of the interviews, this was after Ozzy had gotten sober. And, it's no secret. I mean, Ozzy tried just about every drug, if not every drug known to man, combined with alcohol. So he was talking about getting sober, and I remember the guys asked him, well, what was the hardest drug to give up? And he said, the hardest thing ever to give up was tobacco, was smoking. He's just said the cigarettes was the hardest thing ever to quit. Forget about all the drugs and alcohol. It was the cigarettes. I just was like, whoa, I was blown away with that.
I think Geezer may have said the same thing in his book because he had a lot of excesses, and he said drink and cigarettes, I think, was the hardest thing for him.
Yeah. But, Ozzy was, he was one of a kind. And I'll tell you, after we talked earlier in the week about doing this together, and look, Shannon, I can't thank you enough for doing this. Oh man, I forgot. I had a banner right here. What a dummy I am. I think that's the right one. There it is. Did I get it right? I can't read it from here.
Yeah. 48 to 20.
Finally, when we're getting closer to the end of the show, I put the banner up, but, I was trying to bone up a little bit on Ozzy, and I've never ever listened to all of Blizzard of Oz, and I've never listened to all of Diary.
Okay.
I've never listened to a complete Ozzy album. Let's put it that way. And I'm honestly, I'm really interested in going to hear, going to listen to Speak of the Devil.
Okay.
Because I hear that's a really, really cool recording, because it's Ozzy just playing all the Sabbath stuff, and of course he's doing it with the solo band. So I'm really interested in that.
There's stories behind that as well, if you hear and if you believe what you hear, but that was at his lowest point, was Speak of the Devil.
After Randy had passed.
Randy had passed, and his excesses had gotten so bad because of such things. Yeah. I always wondered if that's why Brad Gillis had left. But then when you hear Brad Gillis interview, he's like, no, I had my own band taken off. So that's why I stepped out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
The stories from that I've heard from interviews was during Speak of the Devil, they had to give Ozzy lyric sheets because, and sometimes feed him his lines and do takes for days, just because he was struggling so much with depression and with in his excesses. But he turned out a good album. I mean, it wasn't bad. I also like the Randy Rhoads tribute album. It's a raw live recording. Okay. Of one of Randy's few shows that he did with Ozzy. You know, they only did the 2 tours. Well, 4.5, if you really want to count that. But if you ever want to sit down and listen to an album, I could see you doing No More Tears.
Okay.
Just because it's got, I mean, you're familiar with Mama, I'm Coming Home.
Oh, and I was going to talk about that one. So yeah, I am familiar. Go ahead.
Yeah. The Let Me Kill Mr. song, the Ozzy sung.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's radio friendly. It's got some hard rock in it. It's more melodic, but it's still Ozzy. I mean, at the time I was listening to it going, man, I guess he is really hanging it up, because he's dialed it back a notch. He's went from being over the top to, not phoning it in, but just kind of, playing his heart out.
And that's a great segue, because there's a guy here locally who does he does stuff on Instagram, and he does stuff. He does live shows where his name's Christian Hand. So I'm going to give him credit. He's a musician, but he takes songs and he breaks them down track by track. And he always starts with the rhythm section. He'll start with the drum track first, and he's going to play drum track and show you what the drum beat was and how it sounded. Then he's going to mix in the bass line or play you the bass line, then play you the two combined, and then bring in the guitar, so on and so on and so on. And he came on Wednesday to a morning show that I listened to and broke down Mama, I'm Coming Home. And he broke it down one track at a time. And listening to anything, I've heard of him do a bunch of stuff in the past, and it makes you listen to music completely different once you've heard a song track by track by track, you know. And man, what an act. I mean, just the layer, there's like two different layers of guitar, maybe three different layers of guitar on that song. And Zakk just kills it, knocks it out. You don't it just, and for somebody who is not as familiar with the song, I mean, yes, of course I've heard it probably,
Sure.
1,000 times, but not really just sat down and just like listened to it. But to hear the different guitar tracks on it, from the acoustic guitar to not only the electric guitar, but then there's the crunchy electric guitar with the distortion on it and all this kind of thing, and then have it all be put together. And the acoustic track on that is just, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, that song. And I think Bob Daisley was back in the band at that time too.
I think so.
And his bass line on that, when you hear it by itself, I'd have to hear the whole song together to hear if the bass is up or if it's buried a little bit in the mix. But to hear the bass line alone, oh, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. That is really one terrific song.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
I do loved it when it came out.
Yeah.
It was a big departure from No Rest for the Wicked, which was a lot rawer, I guess they could say. But Zakk really, I don't know if he had a mentor or if he just really progressed that much or what, but he did. He wailed on that. No More Tears. There's the radio edit, and then there's the long form. The long form. I refuse to listen to the radio edit anymore because it cuts out his guitar solo.
Oh, really?
He wails. Yeah. It's also got a breakdown. I think there's a record player in the background a little bit, maybe something like that could have been cut, but it's a really good song. Just a lot of good music on that album. It is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Not my favorite Ozzy track. I almost put together a top 20 for this one. Sorry about that.
I was wondering if you would do that.
I don't think I can fit it in the time. I'm like, we'd be here for another hour or so. Just listen to me blather on about.
We can do top 20 Aussies later on too if we need to.
Absolutely.
That's no big deal. It's all good.
There's just so many good songs, and we haven't even touched on his duet with Lita Ford.
Yeah, with Lita Ford. Yeah. Yep.
The first day I went and I got a CD player. I saved up for a boombox with a CD player in it. I went and got 3 CDs. The first CD I bought was Kiss's Revenge. Okay. It just came out that day, I believe.
Yep.
Tesla's 5-man acoustic band.
Okay. Good one.
5-man acoustic jam.
Yeah.
And Lita Ford's Lita album. Those are my first 3 CDs. I picked up Lita's because I knew Close My Eyes Forever from MTV, and it was in the little notch rack. It hadn't sold very well, and it was like $4 or $5 or something.
Gotcha.
But I enjoyed the hell out of it. I was kind of disappointed it didn't get to be played it back to the beginning, but I understand there was politics involved in that one. But
yeah, there might have been. I mean,
I'm sure there's always
people. There's been a lot of people. It's a long black list, when it comes to the Osbourne camp. But some bridges have been mended and some haven't, and you never know. But yeah, that was first off, that was a huge song. Period. It made Ozzy. that
It was
coupled
his
with
first
like,
top 10 hit.
well, but it kind of made him more mainstream too,
It did.
and even more radio friendly. I mean, it was a huge MTV hit, so it was a huge song for right. You're right. It was a top 10 hit, and it was a huge song for Lita.
Oh,
But
gosh, yeah.
and I'm certain it was her biggest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That and
but
maybe Kiss Me Deadly have to be her top 2
yeah,
biggest.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I like I said, I've been listening to I listened to Blizzard of Oz, and I listened to a little bit of I didn't get all the way through Diary yet just because I ran out of time. But listening to Randy Rhoads, and just like I said, not being a musician, but knowing what his background was, and then being more of you know being older and knowing what I'm trying to listen for and listen to and that kind of stuff, being a little more educated than I was, years ago, you can really hear Randy's classical
Oh,
training and
yes.
his influence and stuff, and where I mean, there's a couple of things on. And I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but just whether it's in a guitar solo or it's just in a riff that he's playing, where it's like this is almost like listening to Beethoven or Bach or something on
Oh,
guitar,
yeah.
and
Well, a lot of heavy metals actually comes from classical. When you go back to the roots and look at it and read up on it, Mr. Crowley, the
yeah,
song could have been instrumental, but you had to have Ozzy in there because it was him.
yeah,
And Randy killed that song, and it did.
yeah.
It had a lot of bells and whistles, you could say as well. But yeah, Randy was fantastic. I actually listened to his Quiet Riot stuff
Oh,
before,
really?
yeah, before he came to Ozzy. Quiet
Yeah.
Riot got a like an album that was pre Metal Health,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and it was
I
his
think
stuff. None of it
released
developed.
only in Japan, I believe.
Yeah, but it came onto streaming here, so I was able to get it and then find a copy of it as well. And you heard it there, so I guess I could understand why Quiet Riot didn't take off because they didn't have Ozzy. They have that shock factor.
Yeah.
We haven't even touched on Ozzy biting the head off a bat on
Nope.
stage. The pictures with doves.
Yeah.
Um, the pissing on the Alamo where
I
he
was
got
just gonna
banned
say,
for
yeah.
30 years. Um,
Yeah.
Causing riots accidentally at his stage by clapping his hands and screaming, "Come on!" and people run on stage thinking that he was welcoming them. And I mean, he got his ribs broken in a stampede on the No More tours
Okay.
um, because of that on stage. A guy supposedly bear hugged him so hard that he cracked a rib, and Ozzy had to finish the tour taped up and was still
Uh,
supposedly so medicated, we'll say, that he was able to finish it out.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a soldier even back then.
There's
Uh,
well, okay. Well, look, we're gonna bring it on home now. We'll wrap it up. But we really haven't even touched on the Black Sabbath years with Ozzy.
it's true.
So I mean that's a whole episode in itself right there. I mean, we've just talked about Ozzy the man, which is just phenomenal personality, phenomenal performer, and just an icon in the hard rock community, or heavy music community, heavy metal community,
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it, all that encompassed into one. But and it's we're here to pay tribute and say thank you to Ozzy for all his contributions to music. And maybe we'll save those Ozzy years for another time and just cover that too.
We'll have to. I might have to have one or two of my kids come on for a cameo
Hey,
because then we can talk about what we talked about on the phone the other day. about the Black Sabbath and Ozzy lullabies I had for them.
Yeah. Oh,
Man,
I'd love
here's
it.
a
I already saw the dog peeking
oh
into
yeah.
the camera there. So look, that's all good stuff, man. You bring the whole family in. I don't care. It's all good, man.
Now
I was I was gonna
here's a free trailer for that. My children
yeah,
both have Alexa as alarm
yeah.
clocks.
Okay.
Their alarm clock music is Crazy Train to welcome up every morning for school. So every morning they hear all aboard, and the whole
Yeah.
intro and the music. Sometimes I walk into the room and they're still sleeping and the song's over and going on to something else. But that's what they wake up to every day is Ozzy, Crazy Train.
And it's amazing that song, not to go off on another tangent. That song obviously very was not like a big old hit song whenever it first came out. It was, Ozzy probably didn't have a real hit song until maybe even what do you call it? Maybe No More Tears or something like that, later on. But
Yeah,
Crazy Train's his biggest song.
by
Gonna
far.
have the most download, probably 1 billion downloads or something like that. But the biggest song, but primarily it really came to prominence and gained so much traction through all these sports teams,
Oh yeah.
playing it, football games or play guys. It was their walk up song when they're walking up to home plate or something like that, and it's just, I mean, it's synonymous with sports. It's synonymous with certainly with Ozzy, and it's just that song in itself is like part of pop culture.
It's
And
had the song alone's had a big impact in my life. I mean, I've went to my local sports team is the Indianapolis Colts.
yeah,
And every time a team takes possession, they play the beginning of Crazy Train.
okay,
Like I said, my kids listen to it on the alarms when they wake
yeah,
up.
I
My
love it.
wife
I love it.
danced with it with her bridesmaids at our wedding to
Oh
Crazy
no,
Train.
she didn't.
She did. We actually chased people out of our wedding. It's a story for another time with
Okay,
our music preferences at the time. And
nice.
it's just hilarious. I mean, and
I
if you
love it.
break, we could use an episode just to break down the lyrics because I don't know if Ozzy even knew some of the stuff he was singing about. One of the reasons the song was not accepted very well was because it was political. And during the early Reagan years,
Yeah,
we were trying to get away from some of the stuff he talked about. But again, that's for another day. But
yeah.
it's a great song. It's what I don't know if that's what he ended back to the beginning with or not. I just saw Mama, I'm Coming Home, the
No,
video.
I think he finished the solo set with Mama, I'm Coming
Okay.
Home. Yeah, that's
Because
what
they
I
had
hear.
people crying in the audience and everything.
Yeah,
It was touching. But
yeah,
I've seen a few different versions of it, mostly fan footage, which was horrendous. But I saw one cleaned up video. I don't know if it was snuck out from the stream or what it was, but it was nice and cleaned up and crisp. And it had a lot of good crowd shots of people crying and singing along with him. And it was a wonderful send off.
yeah.
Um, another small tangent. I'll make this quick. I meant to mention it when we were talking about the artists that he's brought in over the years
Yeah.
since his passing. The artists that he didn't bring into the fold have been posting on social media their rejection letters from Ozzy and Sharon.
Wow.
It's actually there's like 7 or 8 of them I've seen, and it's people who were trying to come out at the time, or they were like, hey, I'm in this band, or they'd be like, hey, I got this call from somebody said, can you be in New York or wherever tomorrow to play for Ozzy? I'd
Yeah.
come in and play. A week later or 2 weeks later, I'd get this letter in the mail, and they showed the letters signed by Ozzy and Sharon. I think she was still signing as Arden because of the manager's license or something at the time.
Okay.
We decided to go another way. We really loved your package you sent in. You're a brilliant, beautiful player. Please let us know what you do in the future. We hope to do something with you in the future. very professionally written, even if they were not form letters, because I've not seen the same one twice.
Right.
So somebody at least put some thought into it. Whether Ozzy ever signed his name to it or not, I have no idea. But the respect from the artist pouring out, who went on to do things
That's
since
great.
then,
That's
and
great.
said, "Hey," and some of those people I think showed up at Back to the Beginning and played. They're like, I hadn't.
Oh,
Try
like
out
maybe in the
Ozzy
super
one time.
group or something like that.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
said, I tried out one time, and I got this rejection letter, and at the time I was like, I'm crushed, but at the same time, hey, Ozzy, he at least pretended to like my stuff, so I've got something going on there. But
Yeah.
the tributes have been pouring out. I've seen everything from Lady Gaga doing a Crazy Train at the end of one of her shows this week.
Yeah.
Not Weird Al, but Weird Al's opening act, Piddle's Pity Party. He was on America's Got Talent several years ago. He's a clown that does classical music.
Oh, okay.
He did a classical breakdown version of Crazy Train. And of course, the artists that are rock that just continue. I think Judas Priest did one at Hellfest.
I think so. I think you're right. And look, the tributes are going to continue to pour in for a little bit, and whether it's from other bands or artists or guys like you and me, the tributes are going to keep pouring in for a while now, and that just goes to speak of the impact that Ozzy had on the music industry, and especially the hard rock and heavy metal side of it. So
we haven't even got into one of the biggest problems, not problems. Sorry.
No,
we didn't even talk about the PRMC or the PMRC.
No,
I always say it wrong.
PMRC. Yeah. No,
we didn't. Suicide Solution or any of that stuff. I mean, he was part of that, even though he didn't testify in front of Congress. He was on the nasty list.
Yeah, his records were getting labeling also. So
we have the parental advisory stickers to sort of thank Ozzy for, and a lot of artists with their record sales. He put an infusion in there as well.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'll cut off now because I could go on forever about this.
No, but see that, and that's the great thing is that there's so much, and unfortunately we just look, we don't have enough time to get through this, and besides people start dropping off after a little bit too.
This is going to sound terrible, but I went to my local record store, Karma, here in Indianapolis on Washington Street. I told them I would say their name on here because of just because I want to promote local record stores.
I love it.
I now regret not buying the 3 Ozzy bobbleheads they had on the store shelf.
Oh no!
They had 3 like Funko Pops bobbleheads. They had a Blizzard of Oz, or no, they had a Diary of a Madman.
Yeah,
I think it's whichever one he's holding the cross. I think it's Diary.
No, that one's Blizzard.
Is it? Because the other one he's on the ground.
Yeah, but doesn't he have a cross on Blizzard?
Maybe one of them he's standing up looking crazy. I think that's. I want to say
that's Diary. Yeah, Diary's where he's looking.
And the other one he's crawling. So yeah, there's the one with him holding the cross, looking crazy with the makeup. Okay. There is Ozzy with his John Lennon glasses. I called him with his little Prince of Darkness cane. And then there's one on him with him on a throne of like the big bat in the background.
Wow.
I actually was going to try to do it before the podcast, but I have a 3D printer. I was going to print a bust of Ozzy because on all the 3D printing websites, people have put up hundreds, if not thousands, of bust. They've done the remakes of the Funko Pop. There's one that I downloaded that's just him looking sort of like John Lennon because he always he was quoted as saying, "I wanted to be the 5th Beatles while I got into music."
The Beatles were a huge influence on him.
Yes. And
huge influence on him.
That's another 5-hour episode right there.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he went to those John Lennon style sunglasses, because he became very synonymous with that look.
He even covered a John Lennon song on his much maligned cover song called he did It was called Undercovers, but he did Working Class Hero
Okay.
by John Lennon.
Okay.
But yeah, he definitely adored the Beatles.
Yep.
He always said that the Stones were fine, but John Lennon was what got him going.
Yeah.
And even the solo stuff. So yeah, we can cover that when we touch on Black Sabbath years, because now that you've got my juices flowing, we've got to do that.
There we go.
Maybe I'll even throw up a top 20 or something, or we can talk about top 20. I know you're not as well versed, but maybe between Sabbath and Ozzy, you could throw together a top 5 or 10 or something.
I can contribute something here. Come on,
Hey, it's your show. We'll let you do what you want. I'm just the talking head here, rambling on for an hour and a half.
Like I said, you're the one that's going to fill in all the gaps.
You're the eye candy. I'm just the useless knowledge that pours out.
Please. And you've done a tremendous job of filling those gaps too. Look, yeah, we could just keep going on, but let's cut it right here. Let everyone go. Stick with me for a second.
Sure.
Listen, if you've enjoyed this, then, you'll have to come around whenever, part 2 or our Black Sabbath special comes in. It depends. We may do it here on the Ben Maynard program. You may have to tune in to Talking Rock Fan to get that. All right. Either way, you need to check out both of these podcasts. So, with that, as you know, this program is available wherever you stream your podcasts. Just search the Ben Maynard program. Boom, it's right there. Subscribe to it. You'll get notification every time a new episode drops. Or if you just can't resist this kind of stuff right here, and maybe some of this right here, and you're watching on YouTube, then thanks for doing that. But you have to subscribe to the channel. Remember, 500 subscribers. Let's go. Come on, people. Subscribe to the channel. Again, you'll get notified every time a new episode drops. You got to give me a thumbs up. And especially on this one, you got to give Shannon a thumbs up too. Come on, man. And then you got to leave a comment. All right. Because I love the comments. And then last but not least, follow me on Instagram, simply Ben Maynard Program, or on TikTok, the Ben Maynard Program. All right. We're out of here, people. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Good night.
And we'll see you next time. All right. This is the Ben Maynard Program. Tell a friend.